even with the female friendly, it's like I've known quite a few females who are like, "Oh, I'll only ever run Anavar. Like it's less scary. I'm too scared of pinning." But it's also like, okay, so you got away with 12 weeks of Anavar right now. Okay, you take some time off, whatever, you do 10 weeks. You start to get sides. And then you refuse to do any other compound to switch it out. So you're either dealing with them, and then you're also not taking into account that if you're running an oral over and over again, like that's also incurring liver stress. So I would almost prefer some sort of injectable rather than just only doing orals. It's like there's so many factors that people need to think about that I feel like aren't widely talked about because it's like, oh, it's just a pill. It's easy. It's like you need to realize the processes of how it is metabolized in the body and what that can do per your blood work.
And even within that notion of like its effects on lipids too. I mean, because that's something I'm sure like within coaching, you've seen like you have individuals who seemingly are low body fat, but from different ethnic backgrounds who are just predisposed to have dyslipidemia. And it's like knowing that, okay, we're not really going to be able to support healthy fats in a fat loss phase, probably. But if you have someone who already has those comorbidities present, or let's say something like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or just generally has elevated liver enzymes, which again, people with higher muscularity, maybe we see that in them as baseline. What kind of damage are we doing across the systems? And the one that like on the male side that I feel myself going in this direction where I think there needs to be awareness around is really hypertension and blood pressure, because like that's one that like you will justify and be like, oh, well, like everyone who runs gear is 160 over 90. And it's like, you're looking at potentially becoming a vegetable. Like it's really
Yeah,
fucked up
it's
that
a
like,
silent killer.
yeah. And if that's like your baseline, if you're waking up 160 systolic, like where do you think you are like globally for listeners? I'm talking shit to them, not you. Sorry. I use you and then I'm like, it sounds
Yeah,
like I'm being really
no,
mean right now.
no, I
Um,
get
but
it.
it's like, yeah, like if you're training then and you have stimulants, not even like other like performance enhancing stimulants, just caffeine, like let alone nicotine or amphetamines, you put all those things in place. It's like very reasonably you can expect to see a male PED user potentially in that 180 to 190, which like with symptoms, it's like you got to go to the emergency room, dude. Like you're not going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Since like if homeostasis is here, but your baseline is here, where are you gonna go? Like you need to think about the long game. Like it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, this person's doing this and this is how I get this far. But it's like if you only have that mindset, you are going to be a quick spark and you're going to be done. And then you're going to blame the sport or your coach or whoever because you didn't do your own due diligence to learn about what you're actually doing with your body. And yes, that is the responsibility of a coach. You pay someone to be an authority figure in your life, but especially as a female, you are a grown adult. You have the responsibility to educate yourself about this. And it's not like a normal athlete is going to be able to dissect a study and do all this. But if you have some base knowledge and you know what questions to ask your coach, and if they can't give you a straight answer or what you think you can deduce from the things that you've looked up or for lack of a better term researched, that's that's not good.
Oh, and even just like, even if you don't know and your coach isn't as versed as maybe you want them to be, like there's clarity in that. And I think like minimally, like I've moved into more like, hey, I get it. Like sometimes coaches, they make mistakes. Sometimes it is just negligent. Sometimes it's like shitty to even be enabling behavior when they don't understand the potential consequences. But even like from the essence of like, I've evolved with my coaching and my understanding around certain compounds, and for a long time people are like, well, yeah, like you're just literally going to do what John Jewett is going to do or what he would tell you to do. I'm like, yeah, maybe when I first went through J3, maybe when I was working with him, but like realistically, like we should be evolving and should have anecdote to add in that should drive decisions. But even within that, it's like giving or I guess putting that responsibility exclusively on another individual who, like, even if they're operating out of good intention, it's like people can make mistakes, but it's like how costly of a mistake are you willing for them to make or for you to make?
A lot of the responsibility lies within the athlete too, because this is your journey. It's not your coach's placing, it's your placing, and you need to realize what you're willing to do or what you're willing to sacrifice in order to get to your ultimate goal, whatever that may be, whether that's winning a regional show, whether that's winning nationals, whether that's going to the Olympia, whether that's, being an all-time world record holder. Everything, regardless of the modality, everything has a cost. And you need to have a conversation with yourself and see if you're willing to pay the price. Because if I wasn't an athlete, if I wasn't a competitor, I wouldn't touch PEDs at all, because why is there a need for it? So that's something that you need to, and obviously not you, but it's like something that you need to say when you take that step. Okay, honestly, what is my end goal? And again, that can evolve over time, whether if you figure out that you hate it or you figure out that you love it and you want to be Miss Olympia. Those are things that you need to consistently have check-ins with yourself, with your coach, and you need to have a good circle of people around you who are going to tell you the truth.
I think that was articulated so well. And I think too, as someone gets deeper into their career, coming back to that, and I myself, like with where I'm at and seeing the girls that I'm going to be competing against, I'm like, I might not be willing to do what it takes. I might be cool with it. And like, and that's kind of a hard bullet to bite. I'm like, man, like I fucking thought I put on muscle, and I thought I'd be competitive now. And like, I guess there's a part of me, it's like, it does make me sad, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I still come back to like, how would I feel if, I did take more of a risk and, things panned out differently than I'd like them to? Would I, and I'm so like, I'm such a head case. Like, I'd be so hard on myself, and it'd be really hard for me to forgive myself. And I'd probably harbor a lot of resentment. And knowing that, I'm like, man, so, okay, there's that option, which like you can still like, I don't know, for listeners, like you can still want to take drugs. Like every time I am working with a client, I'm like, enjoy your Anavar. I'm like, I'm so full of jealous right now. Feel like you can still appreciate it, and it can still be something you almost romanticize. But at the end of the day, it's like, it might not be what's best for you.
Because, like, let's say, I don't know, you're 27 or even younger, it's like, try to think of the average career time of your competitive career as an athlete. You maybe have anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 years, depending on how old you are. It's like, okay, that is a long time, yes, but that's also a very short time within your entire life. So I need to be happy with the decisions that I've made once I'm done with this. Because, like, do I think I'm going to be competing in bodybuilding when I'm 40 something? I hope not. Like, I hope I'm like living life and being a normal person and not looking at every piece of food and doing a math equation in my head, you know? It's a short period of it's just a short time in my life, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the things now to set up myself good for later.
I respect that a lot. And I think even more so on the performance side, that window is incredibly narrow. And, I can definitely understand use there, that that's a little more heavy-handed on account of like, physically there's going to be a point where like someone's not going to be capable of continuing to progress. And once, like, I mean, yes, very similarly with bodybuilding, but I feel like it is much more concrete with performance sports. And I think across the board, like, just even figuring out, like, do you like what you're doing? Like, some days I really don't like bodybuilding right now. I'm like, this is the last thing I want to do. Like this, and I think back to like really early days and thinking, okay, like, how much of my life and time and energy am I willing to give to this sport? And that already, I would say, like, if drugs aside, that already is something I'm still like, I'm very happy with being business oriented and like being able to help people and do content. And like, I love this thing that I've built, but it would be naive to act as if bodybuilding doesn't take away from that. Like, actually being in a prep, getting on stage, it will impact that. And that's something that, like, I think for the first time in my life, I've been like, I don't know if that actually is something I'm okay with, because I like what I'm doing, and it feels valuable. It brings value, and I would say, not necessarily like a healthy, unhealthy way, but it brings value in a different way that is similar to competing, but not oriented around how I look, which I think, like, for athletes is just, it's so hard to find something that also, like, fills you back up, that doesn't have to do with performance or really aesthetics.